Have you ever wondered how to address those little things that can get under your skin about your spouse and how to do it without arguing? Well, we're going to talk about that today.
You don't want to miss it. You're listening to Marriage Mania, where we are audacious, sagacious, and tenacious for the Lord to uphold godly marriages and to raise fervent children who are countercultural and stand for biblical truth.
Welcome back. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Michael.
And today, this is going to be an interesting conversation because today we're going to talk about those little things that can get under our skin and how do we address them with our spouse. There's always something. At the very beginning of our marriage, everything's always perfect. But as you get through your marriage life together, there are little things that you're just like, if you could just do it this way or if you could do it that way. So we want to talk about that today. And it's going to be some fun conversation. So, Michael.
If it doesn't get us in trouble.
So, Michael, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So let's just talk about the little things. And there's one that we always talk about and we share about in marriage ministry. We talk about the water behind the sink. That has always been one of the number one
perpetual issue here.
That has been the number one issue that we've always talked about. Those little things. And then there's just a couple other ones, that can just kind of get under your skin and you just having to go back. But a lot of times these things can really cause some major problems because of communication or the way we're addressing the problem or the always statements or the you statements. These things, we've talked about this in our communication podcast, but these things can really hinder and can probably cause some spiritual warfare like in your marriage because your unity could be broken over something so little. And, let's talk about how to address these things. So the water situation. I know we've talked about this before and we're bringing it back up in this podcast, but at the very beginning of our marriage, I was okay with the water going behind the sink. It wasn't a big deal. It was like, okay, it just somehow gets behind the water. And everybody that knows us knows this story. And the water would just seem to be getting bigger and bigger and more like water going around the sink. And we had that old sink, and so like it would get mold around the back of the sink and it would just come out on the sides. And it was like, okay, I'm just going to wipe it down. Like maybe there's a leak. I was trying.
Well, that was kind of funny because there was at one point I'm sitting there going, all right, she's like gets really upset. She's like, this is like really important to her that there's no water behind this sink. So I was like, let me be like extra special careful every time. And let me, dry it off. Maybe get a hair dryer out there and make sure it's perfectly dry. And then yet I was still getting accused of this. I'm like, what is going on here? And then we noticed at one point that there was actually a leak in the sink and it was dripping back there. And it's like there was this leak that was causing this. And when the leak was solved, there was still water behind the sink. So it's like, well, that can't be the total reason why this is.
I think it was like leaking underneath. And we were talking to like several of our marriage leaders and they were like, well, now you can blame it on the leak. And it really wasn't Michael. But I was like, well, how is it getting around the back of the faucet and then coming around, So,
well, this is what I saw one time. I saw a certain someone that actually washed their hands really quick and got water on the back of the sink. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not the only one. If I'm even the one doing this, I'm not the only one doing this because I just saw you do this. And
okay, but here's the thing. During the time that this was happening, it was not funny. Like we could laugh about it now, but I was very mad. I was so mad. I was like, how could he do this to me?
I'd be like, what could keep happening? I'm like, every time I use this sink, I'm like, make sure I don't get a single drop of water back here. And even to be careful with that, let me get a towel and really wipe it down to dry it off. And yet I'm still getting accused of getting water behind the sink. And I was like, what in the world?
But, we can laugh about it now. It is hilarious thinking about this. And now we're talking about this on a podcast. But
yeah, there are no hurt feelings over this at all.
There isn't. And, it's just really hilarious. But at the time, I was so mad. I was so mad. I was just like, how can I deal with this problem? This is going to cause a huge argument. And, sometimes people don't laugh this off like we are. I mean, it becomes a huge argument. And
Yeah,
it's
I mean, it's usually not the size of the problem. The problem is how we communicate about it.
right.
That's what they show by statistics. I mean, sometimes people can have huge problems, but it doesn't really cause too much of an issue with their relationship because they learn how, they know how to kind of talk them out.
Yes.
And then others just have a very combative way of communicating, and even little stuff they just go at it, and it just like it really hurts the relationship. And it's so it's really oftentimes not the size of the problem that's the issue. It's often just how do we communicate about it? How do we share our feelings about it? And does the other person seem like they're actually trying to do something about it? At least trying and not just totally ignoring somebody's.
Right. And you
like, that's no big deal. I don't care about the water, so I'm not going to do anything about it. I'll put water back there if I want to.
You tried.
But then it could be a mess when you're like, oh man, it's like I'm actually trying, but nobody's seeing my efforts. It's totally getting dismissed because it's like there's still water back here. It's like I don't know what's going on.
This is hilarious. It's so funny, and I'm trying to put this serious face on, and because this could really hinder a marriage. Now I'm bringing up a new topic because we've talked about this before. Water dripping on the floor. Okay, there's
something about water over here. I don't know what.
Okay, but
I'm just trying to get things done quickly, and
the little things that can really get under your skin. And these are my things. So I'm sure Michael has a lot of things about me, but we in marriage, we're still learning each other, and I don't think that being married 40 years means you got it straight, because this new water thing on the floor is like so new. It's probably been, I don't know, 6 months. So my husband loves his vegetables, and he cleans his vegetables. It's amazing. I mean, just, you clean them really good.
I try to get in my 5 to 10 fruits and vegetables. Yeah. I do that in the morning, but it's like, man, it takes a while. So I'm like, I'm trying to get that done as fast as I can. Let me wash them off real quick.
Right. And so it drips
I get some
on the
water,
floor.
I put towels down and everything else.
So it drips on the floor. And so when I come downstairs, it's like slippery, and it's always like, where did all this water come from? Which I already know where it came from, but I'm like, just trying to see if we can get like a conclusion or an answer. I'm like, where did all this water? I mean, there's so much water everywhere, all over the floor. and he takes a sock and just wipes it down.
I guess this is a podcast about airing of grievances here. Let me just get out what I've been pent up all this time about the water situation.
These things, though, seriously, they can hinder some progress in marriage. And we're laughing about this because these are funny things that we've experienced, and I think it's good to laugh about these things. But sometimes the things that could get under our skin could be some really difficult characteristics, or some things that are just really hard. Or maybe it's the way someone's talking. Maybe it's sarcasm that is continuing, that it just seems to bother you. And so I think those are things that we should gently bring them up to our spouse, to talk about them, not in a complaining way, or not in a way that's going to belittle the other person, but in a way that expresses, this bothers me. Like if there's sarcasm and I feel like you're constantly making fun of me, or I feel like you're doing this is how I feel. Is there a way that you can maybe approach it differently? And I think that's the point that we're trying to make. And we're laughing about the little things that we have encountered in our marriage, but there are some things that do bother one another. We have to gently talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, they can be serious. I mean, even though they're small, especially if the other one's just disregarding someone's concerns, it's like, this is no big deal. This is so small. I don't know why they're upset about some water. I mean, such a trivial thing to get upset about and totally dismiss somebody else's concerns when it's something that's really kind of grating on them, and then just kind of asking if you can do something about it. And if they don't see you doing something about it, that's what can really irritate. It's like, oh, you're not taking me seriously. You're not thinking that this is something that I the reason I brought it up to is I thought it was serious enough to bring it up to you, and I was hoping that you would do something about it. And if you're not going to, that's what can really upset someone. But there's that's the first thing that we have to determine, is this worth bringing up? Proverbs 19:11 talks about it's to one's glory to overlook the matter.
Yes.
And it's and to control one's temper. So we have to regulate our emotions, and we don't just, I'm really frustrated, let me unload that on you about the water. And at the same time, we got to think, is this even worth bringing up? If we bring up every nitpicky thing, we are going to wear the relationship out. We're going to wear the other person out. So we got to have some kind of filter of like, there's some little stuff I got to let go, and I just got to work through that with myself. But there are some things, even though they're small, if it's something that really concerns us, I'm concerned about the water back there that's going to cause mold and things. It's really a concern of mine. Or it's just a pet peeve that I have that's really important to me. I can see why it might not be necessarily, high priority on your list, but it is important to me just because of my unique personalities and the way I see things. And that might be worth, even though it's small, it passes that filter of this is important to me. I know it's little, I know it's trivial, and I need to kind of remind myself of that. But at the same time, it is important to me. And I want to communicate that to you. And I really would like for you to do something about that if you can, to pick up your clothes after yourself. I don't want to keep picking them up after you. If it happens once in a while, then that's fine. I don't have to say anything just because you happen to leave a sock on the floor. I'll just pick it up and put it in. I don't have to say anything about it. Yeah. But if it happening all the time and that's starting to irritate me, that probably passes the filter.
Yeah.
That it's like something, okay, this is we don't want to like just suppress something that's really grating on us, because that's going to explode at some point. And so we do want to bring that up, and the other person needs to listen, and ask a lot of questions and listen to the other person, show that you're listening, and say, okay, this was important enough for them to bring up. Maybe it's important enough for me to try to do something about it, and it doesn't have to be perfect to allow somebody to see, okay, yeah, that person's actually doing something. And we need to notice when somebody's doing something about it, like trying really hard to dry off the counter, putting down towels and stuff to get the water. So
you're doing a good job.
Even though, because otherwise, if somebody's like, man, I thought I was trying, but my efforts were totally dismissed by saying, you're still not doing this. You're never doing such and such. And it's like, man, I'm spending all this time wiping down all this water, and I'm not getting noticed for the efforts that I'm doing. So we need to notice at least the effort and appreciate the other person, even if they're not quite doing it to the degree that we want. We still need to acknowledge, man, I really see that you're really trying hard to prevent the water, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to let you know that.
Gratitude, like just being grateful, and
that might inspire them to do a little harder to there's still a few little drops that tend to be there. If you can work on that a little bit, I would really appreciate it. But I really appreciate the effort that you're putting.
But I think this is all part of our process of learning each other, and God showing us our own sins and how we need to work together as a team, as a covenant marriage, because we're so imperfect. God brings the marriage together, and through that, there's that process of sanctification where we're constantly learning one another and learning each other's needs and wants. And this is an ongoing, lifelong process. And we seek the Lord together, because I don't want to cause arguments over something really little, even though I might feel like it bothers me so much. So I have to really pray on it. Should I say something? I should just let that one go. I need to let that go. Just let it go, because if not, it's just going to be another issue. And I know one thing that bothers you with me is crunching. I love chips. I love anything crunchy. And I know that crunchy, that sometimes,
and I don't know why. It's something.
It's so loud.
It's like somebody, it's like somebody putting their fingernails on a chalkboard. Yeah. And usually crunchy stuff comes in crunchy, crinkly packages too. So you not only have
daughter doing it too.
Right. So it's like you got both of them, and it's like, man, will that package ever end? It seems to be endless, and it's like they're just going to spend all day going crunch, 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 crunch. I'm like.
Yeah, the crunchy. I remember you said something a while ago, and you said, "Is there any way that you can like lessen the crunch?" I don't know how to lessen the crunch.
There's a way, like especially if you can put it right. Yeah, making sure also that we're eating with our mouth closed can help, right. Or even when you put something in your mouth, it's not. and then start chewing with your mouth closed. It's like, put it in there first, close your mouth,
for sure
then start chewing.
A podcast of Michael and Tanya and the little things that bother them.
We all have those. Every
them.
marriage is going to have those little things that start to grate on you. And you got to think, first of all, is it worth bringing up? Do I let it go? It's really bothering me. I think I really need to bring this up. And then the other person needs to try to do something to accommodate that. So we're not getting on each other's nerves all the time. They can see us trying to meet each other halfway on things. So there's some give and take there. There's some discernment of when to bring things up. And there's also that need to try to like, look, this is a desire of my spouse, and out of respect for them, I want to try to meet that desire to stop doing this or start doing whatever.
And don't pray, Lord, help him stop spilling the water behind the sink while you're praying together. Like, you don't want to convict your spouse. I know that, we do pray together, and I think it's important for us to always pray together and to forgive each other at the end of the day. If there's something that we have offended one another, that is super important, because if not, you carry it into the next day and you just have a heaviness of, I am still really mad because he did this or he did that, or she did this or she did that. And I think it's very important to just go to bed and forgive each other and say, okay, I understand that you are trying and I appreciate it so much. And the other person, like you were saying, should try and make that effort. I know that you make lots of effort. I try. Sometimes I fail. And that's where we have to just constantly go to the Lord and ask the Lord for help to be able to overlook those little offenses that we may have and help us and steer our heart towards him, so that we can love our spouse even more and more and overcome those little things that can frustrate us or irritate us, because we're human and we need Jesus. I mean, we really need Jesus.
And that's part of living life together,
Yes.
In all its glory.
Yes,
the thing, for the most part, hopefully we love our spouse more than anything, but there's we got to keep it in perspective. It's like, remember all those just wonderful qualities that your spouse has, and not focus so much on the little irritating crinkling packages and water here and there, and not get too uptight about that, while at the same time recognize that those things can be important in the large scheme of things as they kind of build, and it's something frustrating and we really want addressed. And if we don't see the other person addressing that, that's what can really be hurtful. And so, we need to like listen to somebody else's concerns, even if it's on the small things, and say, okay, that's really important to them. That's really starting to irritate them. I really don't want to irritate my spouse. Let me try really hard to try to meet that desire and meet that need in that area, and just be one less thing that irritates you. But just recognizing that that's just, part of life and how we live life together. But we need to communicate. We need to communicate well. We need to let some things go. We need to do some discernment. And then, when it passes that filter, we need to recognize that, okay, this was important enough for them to bring up to me. Then it's important enough for me to address and try to at least do something about it.
I agree. And when we make the steps forward to help and serve our spouse, it just brings more unity in the marriage, because we're really considering their best interests instead of ours. Like Philippians 2, 3, and 4 talk about just putting the other person first. And we always quote this from Ruth Graham that says, nothing better than two servants to marry one another, because you're serving each other. And that's the whole purpose. This marriage covenant is a process to constantly grow together, to constantly be one. You are two separate people, but you are growing in oneness, and that's the key, and that's most important. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the little things and what to do and how to address those little issues that may be getting under your skin, and not letting them fester. Address them, but also address them in a way that is loving and kind. And also, if it's you that's doing it, then try your best to acknowledge it and put your spouse as a priority.
I love the filter, think before you speak. Sometimes the first thing we do is like, oh, I just saw water on behind the sink. Let me go at them, right away, and I love let's pause. Let me think before I speak. Is what I'm about to say true? Yeah, it's true. There's water there. But just because it's true, that's not the only part of that filter. It also needs to be what I'm about to say. Is it helpful to say? Is it inspiring? Am I going to say it in a way that's going to inspire them to clean up that water? Is it necessary for me to bring up? That's the end part of it. Is it necessary for me to bring up little things? Like we said, Proverbs 19:11 said, little things I got to let go. Is this one of the things I need to let go, or is this something I need to bring up? And is it whatever I bring up, is it kind? Whatever I say, it's always, how can I say this in a kind and loving way? Is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? That's my filter, right? Always think before I speak. Before I speak, especially as it's going to be something that's confrontational on something big or something small, I'm going to confront my spouse on this. Let me take a moment. Let me think. Is what I'm about to say true? Is it helpful? Is it going to be inspiring? Is it necessary for me to bring up? And whatever I say, how can I say this in a kind way that they can receive and be inspired to say, you're right. And I'm going to work really hard because I love you so much. And I know this is an issue that you have. I'm going to work really hard. And I want you to see my efforts.
I totally agree. And you said it perfect. So I am just thankful that we're able to talk about this. And this just kind of gets you started to think about, okay, what are those things that may be irritating you that you can address them lovingly and think before you speak. Until next time.
God bless.